The Premier League is back, and well and truly back. From a potential VAR howler to end-to-end transitional football. I have to say, as a Man United fan, I didn't like the end result, but I did enjoy that game. It was end-to-end, it was fast, it was like basketball at times, and there was individual quality in attack, defensive lapses in concentration. It was a good game. Hugo Ekitike, another phenomenal game from him. He was incredible. Not just the goal and the assist, which everyone talks about, but the technical ability, the links, and everything. His link-up play, his touches, his control. It was like right at the beginning of the second half. He made a really good pass into Verts, like the control there. He was fantastic. Gakpo, I thought, had a really good game, but Semenyo is obviously a player that I've been talking about a lot, praising a lot. I mean, he just ran through Liverpool at time. Like, Gravenberch was a huge miss. You know, Konate's getting rinsed, and Konate was bad, but Konate got no protection from the midfield. And do you know what? This is a match reaction I'm quite excited to do because football is back and there's so much to talk about in today's game. So much went on. I actually got a breakdown of everything, like from negatives to positives. So I've done a big breakdown of the game. But look, first things first, Chiesa, you know what? Didn't want Liverpool to win the game, but if someone was going to score the winner, I think you'd want it to be Chiesa. I have so much respect for Chiesa. You know, he didn't play. And look, he understood Liverpool won the league. They had such a good team. It's so hard to get a place in that team. And even though he didn't play, even after the good impact in the Carabao Cup final, and he probably should have got more minutes, there was times when Nunes came off the bench and did nothing, where maybe Chiesa could have done more. He never put up a fuss. You know, Man United players that have put up a fuss when they've been on the bench, and these Man United players, you know, might have not ever been good for us when they even had opportunities. You know, so many players when they're on the bench, they kick up a fuss, they cause issues, this and that, and you got to respect him. He should have had more minutes last season, but look, I don't blame Slot. He won the league. He had his players he trusted, but he never kicked up a fuss. He wasn't involved in pre-season, and he came on and made an impact. Hey, but yeah, one of the most entertaining Premier League opening games in years. One of the most entertaining games in years, and it was from attacking brilliance. I'm going to tell you this now: the individual brilliance of Liverpool's attack, because you look at the Gakpo goal, you look at the Salah goal, the individual brilliance in their attack is the big difference maker today. You know, the way that Salah was able to take that by himself, the way that Gakpo, the drop of the shoulder, the way he was able to, you know, create separation, get the shot off. That was big. And look, Liverpool's attack cooked. Now, look, I don't think Florian Wirtz had the best game. People are already calling him rubbish and saying he's going to flop in the Premier League after one game. Like, seriously, if you think that, grow up. You can't judge a player for one game. You can't judge a player for 2 games, 3 games, 4 games. You have to wait a full season to judge a player. There's some players that join a team are crap for the first 2 months and then they end up being really good signings. You know, or there's some players like Anthony who scored 3 goals in his first 3 games for United, looked mitten, then he actually wasn't. So just anyone that's jumping to a conclusion that Florian Wirtz isn't going to be able to do it in the Premier League off the basis of one game, like, really, like honestly, seriously, like, you can't judge a player of one game. Lenny Yoro got cooked off one game versus Southampton for Man United, and he's probably been our second best player after Bruno since. He's absolutely fantastic for Man United. But yeah, look, I don't actually think it was Salah's best game, to be honest. But Salah just does Salah, doesn't he? I thought Ekitike was mint. I assume that is. I got those player ratings off X, so I'm assuming that's what the SofaScore ratings were. But let me check. But before I proceed with more thoughts, I think we've got to talk about Semenyo. Now, I wasn't super aware of what happened, but apparently someone had racially abused him and then got kicked out the stadium. So it's good that they've been kicked out the stadium. It's good that they will hopefully get a ban for life. But seriously, if anyone watching this video thinks it's okay to go to a football ground and racially abuse a player, or even just abuse a player in general, it's not acceptable. It's not acceptable one bit, particularly racially abusing a player. I don't like, if you think that's okay, go to therapy. That's all I'm going to say. Go to therapy. It's not normal. It's not okay. It's weird. Like, it's just weird. Why are you doing that? Like seriously, it's just really weird. Like, why? So yeah, and you know what? Semenyo deserved that goal. He deserved both of those goals. He was absolutely mint. He deserved that, and fair play to him, because he's just there to play football, and someone's been an absolute knobhead and sent him racial abuse, which is completely out of order, and he's gone and scored 2 mint goals. So well done to Semenyo. But we got to talk about Hugo Ekitike. This guy, this is his second game, and he has been phenomenal for Liverpool. So his first stats was 1 goal, 3 shots, 100% aerial duels won, 1 key pass, got the assist. But it's just so good to watch. He's so technically gifted. Liverpool, people are like, oh, he's only good in transition. Liverpool won't get the space. Blah, blah, blah. No. This guy's so technically good. The little combinations and small spaces he does is good. And one thing I thought worked really well is Liverpool's left-hand side was more deadly than their right-hand side today, because Hugo Ekitike likes to drift slightly to the left. I don't know if you've noticed that. And him and Gakpo create overloads. And there was little bits of combination between them that worked really well. And Liverpool were causing so many issues there. The touch, the link up, the movement. You know what he is? He's more than a goal scorer. He actually underperformed his XG at Frankfurt last season. He's known for maybe not being the most clinical finisher in the world, although he hasn't looked like that at Liverpool. He's been pretty clinical, although that being said, he probably could have scored more in the Community Shield. But he's known for his all-round play, and that's what he brings, not just goals. And goals is the most important thing as a striker, and he's doing that. But his all-round play is good. His movement is drawing out defenders, creating space. He's dropping deep, facilitating the players around him, linking up play. He just brings good balance and combination to that attack. And I just look at it, and Isak doesn't just walk in. Like, Isak and him can play together. Isak is Isak. But Isak, it's not a case of Isak walks in and he goes right on the bench. Like, Isak's got to warm. He's not had a pre-season. He's got to do that. Ekitike continues to start. He was very good in transition. The drifting left, the overloads, it was really good. And he combined so well with Gakpo. I thought the second goal was brilliant from Gakpo. That was absolutely brilliant. And, Isak, that's a message to him. He's got to fight. And I have to say, Gakpo, you know what? I think he's a bit underrated. Now, I don't think Gakpo was good in the Community Shield at all. And I think Gakpo sometimes has his games and I'm like, yeah, that was bad. But right now, Gakpo probably is the best left winger in the Premier League. I mean, look, you've got Semenyo, I guess you can play left and right wing. Is he an out-and-out left winger, would you say? Cunha, I wouldn't really say is a winger. If you're thinking best left winger in the Premier League, it's probably Gakpo. Like, Anthony Gordon's good, but, you could debate Anthony Gordon. It's not Martinelli. Doku's got potential, but it's not Doku. Pedro Neto's more on the right. He's probably the best left winger in the Premier League when you think about it. And I think he's an underrated player, Cody Gakpo. Created 3 chances in the first half, which was more than any other player. Good goal, the drop of the shoulder, the movement, the everything, the finish was good. But there were still times where Liverpool had the ball in transition and he was dribbling the ball up and passing it well and was quite key in progressing play. He's scored an assist in his last 4 Premier League home games. And I think because there's so many big names, Ekitike, Salah, Wirtz, even Isak if he comes in, that Gakpo maybe goes under the radar. Now, I'm not saying he's perfect, but I've seen Liverpool fans say sell Gakpo or they don't rate Gakpo, this and that. But the guy's got good output. He's a good player. He's not your best attacker and there will be games where he's poor. But I feel like he's underrated a little bit. I feel like, I put Gakpo in my FPL, so I wasn't too bothered when he scored. Because I just know that he's going to get output. And I know he's going to influence games. And I know that he will work well with Kirkes and Ekitike. And I think that, he gets a bit too much stick, to be honest. I think he's a best left winger in the league, solid, reliable. And I'm not sure. I mean, I think it's only a small percentage of Liverpool fans, but I have seen Liverpool fans complain about him. And look, he was poor in the Community Shield. But yeah. Now, Liverpool weren't great. Now, I'm going to say this game reminds me of Ipswich, the opener. Now, Liverpool fans were panicking after Ipswich, the opener. The first half was poor. The second half was good. They showed vulnerabilities and they went and won the league. And I think it's a case of this Liverpool team just need time to gel. Gravenberch is a huge miss in the middle of the park. They're probably going to bring in Gay. They're probably going to bring in Isak. The midfield, there's questions, was there a lack of balance there? Gravenberch's massive. But there was vulnerabilities there. And there was vulnerabilities in the first game of the season versus Ipswich. Liverpool aren't going to have it all figured out after one game despite winning the league. And the big vulnerability they had, and it did remind me, and I'm not saying that you play like Ten Hag's Man United, but Ten Hag had a really good first season at Man United. And I'm not saying this is going to happen with Liverpool. You've got far too much quality for this to happen. But Ten Hag had a really good first season with Manchester United. But then the second season, Man United's midfield just had this hole in the middle and the defence just had no protection because Casemiro and Eriksen were our 2 pivot players and they just had a lack of legs. They can't do it in the Premier League with physicality. And Man United were conceding 20 shots a game, always on the transition. Teams could just run for us. And at times, Bournemouth were doing that to Liverpool. Now, obviously, Liverpool have got Gravenberch to come in and Liverpool have got such good defenders and such good attackers. I'm not saying that's going to be the case for the season, but today, Bournemouth exploited Liverpool's poor rest defence. They had a lot of shots. Palace did in the Community Shield. Liverpool were getting caught out in the transition. Konate, crap, had an absolute stinker. Don't get me wrong. The Semenyo goal was amazing. Semenyo is a top player, fantastic player. But this is the second game where players have just ran through Liverpool. And I think a lot of it comes from midfield protection. I think, Van Dijk's older, Konate is his head in Madrid. Maybe Liverpool look at the DM market. If something happens to Gravenberch to go in, maybe they look at it. Because I felt that the midfield didn't provide the best protection. I think things like Endo coming on at right back, he was a bit confused, maybe out of position. A lot of other things, a few players were out of position. Obviously, they're getting used to it. But Liverpool are vulnerable in transition, and Gay in a defensive midfielder, I think, would solve that. I thought it's just not. It's just one of those things that Slot's going to have to look at, because that could be a problem. Because you're very attacking, and the football you play is very entertaining to watch because it's very end-to-end. But you have to look at the transition opportunities being conceded. And I'm sure Slot will see that, Michael Edwards will see that, Richard Hughes will see that, and I'm sure that will be addressed and adaptations. And as I said, Gravenberch isn't playing. But it is a concern for Liverpool, potentially, that. But they have so much individual quality in attack that even when they're conceding, it's not the end of the world, because you just know that they can outscore anyone. And I think, at the end of the day, most Liverpool fans would rather their team win games 6-4 or 4-2 and it be end to end than win games 1-0 and park the bus. If you get what I'm saying. But yeah, I want to have a talk about Wirtz and Kerkez. I don't think it was the best debut for them. Now, I feel like Kerkez is probably thrown off a bit playing against his former team as well. I remember Wan-Bissaka's second game for United against Palace. He just looked out of place, but he ends up being solid for us. But Wirtz was quiet, struggled to maybe influence new league, new teammates, but he's just got to gel. And we've seen Wirtz in pre-season, he looks good. Again, Kerkez, good player, maybe positioning was poor. They're going to play more games. They've not played many games together. This is the start of the season. This is when they learn and play together and gel. You can't expect to sign 4 new players, start them in this team, and them to all hit the ground running right away. They're both young. They will both improve. You just got to give players patience. And I think one thing that social media's brought is players get written off after 2-3 games. People need to give players patience, times to adapt, times to learn, time to gel. I mean, I think Wirtz and Kerkez will both be a success for Liverpool. The Ipswich game last year, you didn't have any new signings, but there were similar vibes. The team just didn't fully connect. And I think at times maybe Liverpool didn't fully connect. But this comes with minutes, and this comes with teams playing together. And I think the subs was weird ones. I think Liverpool got worse when Kerkez and Frimpong came off. It hurt control. Bournemouth pinned them back. Bournemouth just leveled, got them on transition. But then later attacking changes like Chiesa coming on, swung the momentum back in Liverpool's favour. Chiesa scored. And Chiesa in 9 minutes got a goal, completed his passes, won all of his duels, scored the winner. And apparently he scored winners in back-to-back sub appearances. I don't know if that is true, but I know he scored a winner. I saw that on Twitter, and I don't think it's true, because I'm pretty sure he's been subbed on a few times and not scored. But I remember he scored not the winner, but I remember he scored a goal versus Newcastle, but he'd come on too little, too late. You can see what Chiesa can bring. Comes on versus Newcastle, scores a goal in the Carabao Cup, gets Liverpool a lifeline. Today comes off the bench and scores. I do think, obviously, Frimpong could play right wing, but Conor Bradley's injured a lot. Salah, Chiesa's right wing options. Ekitike, Isak as striker options, and Rio and Gakpo as left wing options, and Liverpool in a good place. It depends what Chiesa wants. He'll probably want minutes, opportunities. The World Cup's coming up, but I do think he's a player that Arne Slot should rely on more off the bench. But I think he probably will go. He wasn't involved in pre-season. But yeah, Salah overall has 246 goals and 113 assists in 403 games for Liverpool, which is 359 goal contributions. It's crazy how he always does it. The first game of the season, I didn't put Salah in FPL for a change. I've gone with Haaland, and I was like, got to the 90th minute, and I was like, not putting Salah has paid off. And then Salah just does Salah, and he scores a goal. So yeah, I think the positives for Liverpool was Ekitike and Gakpo link up. Chiesa off the bench. I think Szoboszlai had a quietly good game. He actually covered the most ground on the pitch. He's a workhorse. I think there was individual quality in attack for Liverpool. I think what didn't work for Liverpool was they were vulnerable in transition. They lacked Gravenberch. There was defensive lapses in concentration. I think Richard Hughes will address that in the window, though. Let me know your thoughts down below, Liverpool fans. Thank you for watching. Bye.